Hey Mini enthusiasts, how are you doing? Welcome back. I hope you're all well and I hope you're having a great day. So in today's video, we're just going to finish off a little job on the front wings. So a few people mentioned in the comments, there's meant to be a strengthening bracket that goes between the front wing and the A panel. It just gives a bit more strength where that spot welded seam is to the A panel and just stiffens it all up a little bit. To be honest, if you've got arches bolted onto the car or riveted onto the car, that also adds a bit of strength to that area. But I'm going to make the brackets up, we're going to fit them on the front, and we're also getting ready to paint the underside, the inner wings, the arches and the engine base. I'll talk a little bit about the paint I've ordered to do that and why I've ordered what I've ordered. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's a little bit short, this one. I'm just struggling for time to get out in the garage recently, but it is a little bit more on the progress on the Racing Green, and yeah, any progress is good progress. So hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll speak to you again. I will speak to you again in a bit. Thank you. Right then, I'll best do some recording because I haven't recorded much recently anyway. So one of the jobs we've got to do is add some strengthening brackets on that A panel to front wing join. They added strengtheners from the factory. You can actually buy the part. It's just like a right angle bracket. You can get it from Mini Spares. I'll put a link in the description or I'll put it up in the video. And just looking on the other side, it welds on. I think it's probably spot welded here and then spot welded there. Just gives a bit of strength. Now what you will notice is on this side, and it was worse on the other, where the A panel comes down a little bit further than the wing. It's all just to do with the alignment and everything like that. And on the other side, I found it worse. Do you remember when I had the problems with the seal down the bottom here? So there was a bit of a bigger gap than I wanted at the bottom of the door. Obviously, because there's a bigger gap, then that means the seal's, a few millimeters further down, so the whole lot moves down. So that's why we're out a little bit here, and I was out a very little bit at the top there, getting everything to line up. So what we need to do so what I've done so far, I actually had to re-spot weld some of these ones because I trial fitted the wings on it, and what I noticed is the wing wasn't fitting very well. I was getting a big gap at the top here, so I pulled this out, but in doing that I broke a couple of spot welds, so I've just re-spot welded them. What I've done now is mark the line of where the wheel arch goes, and what you see all under here will be hidden by the wheel arch. So I plan to make a right angle bracket. It'll have to have a bit of a curve in it. That might be a bit tricky, and then we'll spot weld it on in this sort of position here. So and obviously that's behind the wheel arch. Then I will just put a bit of filler on it and smooth it over, just in case anyone removes the wheel arches in the future. I've got a bit of cut off metal there. I think this was 0.8 or 0.9 mil thick, so it's quite thick. It's quite strong, that. So I'll get a template made up, get that cut out, and join you again in a moment. I'll probably have to use some shaping tools to get that sort of curve in it. Right, so there we go. Bit of beating, hammer and dolly. Give us a bit of a curve in it. So the idea is then that fits up inside there. Obviously I'll trim it up afterwards. Like I say, the spot welds will go below the wheel arch, but I will just neaten them up with a bit of filler anyway. So let me get some weld through primer on there, clean up the insides and get that spot welded on. Right, so there we are. You can't see much now, the epoxy primer's on there, but that just stiffens that up a huge amount. And obviously from the inside, there we go. So I'll have to put some seam sealer on that. The only other thing which I'm contemplating doing as well, so obviously the A panel is only spot welded by a couple of spot welds on the bottom there. Then obviously you got all the spot welds up the side and you got a seam weld at the top. What I might do, in fact what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to clean off a bit down the bottom here and I'm going to run a small seam down the bottom there. It's just if that ever, there's literally only 2 spot welds there, if they fail in the future then obviously the bottom end of the A panel starts flapping about, so I'm gonna run a small beader weld at the bottom there. Again, obviously I will need to probably just redress that on the outside because it will distort the panel slightly, but I'd rather have it nice and strong. Also need to do the other side as well, so I've got a second bracket made up to do the other side. I won't video that, I'll just get on with it and get it done. Right, so yeah, what I've done was run a small beader weld down the inside of there. Hasn't distorted the panel too much actually. That's what it looks on the inside. Bit blobby for my welding, but hey ho. And as I say, that just gives a bit of protection if those spot welds fail at the bottom. Get a bit of epoxy primer on there now, and then I need to seam seal up inside here. And then we're almost ready for stone chipping. Right, and then lastly, that's seam sealed up inside there as well. Now, I actually use Tiger Seal for doing that joint. Right, 1 week later, I've not had a chance to do much on the car at all. In fact, I've done nothing. And an SD card died, so I need to order a new one. So I've done the other side now. All looking good. Got our strengthening bracket on there. My welding was a bit better down the bottom there this time. And yeah, as you can see, all looking good. There's our strengthening bracket, and it's all seam sealed right to the top now, which is good. So really we're at the stage now where it's the engine bay needs painting, but obviously I need to do the inside of the inner wings as well. So I've ordered some paint. So here we go. I ordered it all from Jowl Paints. Never used them before. I think Mark pointed me to them because they do tintable Raptor. Now you can buy tintable Raptor elsewhere, but they don't. I don't think they pre-mix it, but they do at Jowl Paints. So this is tintable Raptor. So it is already in British Racing Green. Don't know whether I'll be able to show you on here. There you go. And it's actually metallic British Racing Green as well. So it's Raptor paint in metallic British Racing Green. I've got 2, I think these are, they're not a litre, 711ml. 2 pots. I reckon that'll be easily enough to do the inner wings under the arches, and then I'm going to do up to here on the engine bay in Raptor. And I reckon that'll be plenty. I reckon that'll be enough to do the seals as well. It's 2-part, so you mix it with the hardener and then you just spray it on. You can, I was actually thinking it's really messy spraying this on. You usually use like a Schutz gun and it sprays it out, gives that sort of orange peel effect, which looks sort of factory on the seals and that, but it's very messy to use. But you can also brush paint it on. You can roller it on as well. So I might actually try rollering some bits on, especially on the inside of the wings, and then maybe I'll just go over the sort of edges with the Schutz gun. So that's for the inner wings and arches, and then for the actual engine bay itself, for the bulkhead, the inner wings and that, I'm going to do it in 2K, 2-pack paint. The reason I'm doing that is because cellulose, if you spill petrol on it, brake fluid or anything like that, it will just take the paint clean off. 2-pack, because it's got the hardener in there, it's far more resistant to fuel spillages and things like that. So I'm no expert here. Mark knows far more about paint than me, but I spoke to the people there. So I've got polyester base coat. Don't ask me why it's polyester. That's what they recommended. So polyester base coat, and then we've got 2K 2-pack gloss lacquer to go over the top of it. So the polyester obviously isn't resistant, but the lacquer is. And I've obviously, you can't see it, but I've got Mark's spray extractor over in the corner, and I use an appropriate mask, etc. But we're making progress, yeah. But slowly, yeah. I get slightly frustrated with it. I just do not get the time out here anymore to spend on the cars, and it's summer now. Barbecues, going around seeing friends at the weekend, and when I do come in here and work, days like today, it's only 21 degrees, but within half an hour of working, you're just sweating buckets. But we're getting there, we're making progress. Really interested to see what this Raptor goes like. Really interesting that it's metallic British Racing Green, already tinted. I see, really keen to see what that comes out like. Hope you enjoyed this week's video. Please remember to give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and I'll catch you again in the next one. Cheers all, bye.